The restaurant fell silent the moment he said it. A dozen eyes turned toward the single dad who stood steady despite the chaos around him, his voice low but unshaken, "She's with me." Across the table, the billionaire heiress, normally untouchable, always in control, stood frozen, her breath trembling as though the world had shifted beneath her feet. That one sentence, spoken with the calm strength of a man who'd spent his life fighting battles alone, changed everything. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected connections, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Ethan Miller had never imagined his life would come to this. Just 3 years earlier, he had been a husband, a proud father, and a man who believed the world rewarded hard work. But life had shattered quickly. His wife passed unexpectedly, leaving him to raise his 6-year-old daughter Lily alone while juggling long shifts as a delivery driver. Bills piled up like storm clouds. His heart stayed heavy with unspoken grief. And every night, after tucking Lily into bed, he sat at the edge of the kitchen counter wondering how much longer he could keep the world from collapsing on them both. But Ethan wasn't the kind of man who gave up. He worked harder, slept less, and kept his promises to his little girl, even when it hurt. They lived in a tiny apartment behind a laundromat, where the walls were thin and winters felt colder. Still, Lily filled the space with joy and laughter, unknowingly saving her father from drowning in his own sadness. The world was harsh, but her innocence softened. It was on a rainy afternoon, after a delivery cancellation left him with an almost empty gas tank and an even emptier wallet, that Ethan's life took an unexpected turn. He got a call from a friend asking for help at a small community event. He agreed, mostly because it paid enough for him to buy Lily new shoes. He arrived soaked, tired, and frustrated, only to find himself face to face with a woman who looked completely out of place among folding chairs and plastic tables. Her name was Alina Hart. 21 years old. Graceful in a way that felt effortless. And with the kind of quiet sadness in her eyes that only someone who had learned to hide pain carried. Ethan didn't know then that she was the only daughter of Christopher Hart, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the country. He only knew she was standing in the rain alone, staring at a cracked umbrella and shivering slightly as if she didn't know how the world worked outside glass towers and private drivers. She offered to help him carry boxes inside. He tried to decline, but she insisted. And for the first time in years, someone wasn't taking from Ethan, they were offering something, even if small. Over the next few weeks, Alina kept showing up in unexpected places. A small cafe where he grabbed coffee before work. The park where Lily played after school. The community center where Ethan volunteered on weekends. At first, he assumed it was coincidence. But the way she looked at him, curious, cautious, and strangely comforted, made him wonder. Alina had spent her entire life in shadows of luxury, surrounded by expectations she never wanted. She wore expensive clothes, but they felt like armor. She lived in grand mansions, yet every room felt empty. Her father controlled everything, her school, her choices, her future. She didn't want wealth. She wanted to breathe. Ethan and Lily gave her that space without even knowing it. Slowly, Alina's world began blending with theirs. She brought Lily small gifts, nothing extravagant: stickers, coloring books, a cupcake with pink frosting. She asked Ethan simple questions like how he managed to remain so patient with life, how he balanced exhaustion with gentleness, how he survived heartbreak without becoming cold. Her admiration grew quietly, sincerely, and Ethan, he hadn't expected to trust someone again. But seeing Alina laugh with Lily, seeing how she listened when he spoke, seeing how she didn't judge his struggles, it stirred something inside him he thought had died long ago. One evening, Alina confessed she needed a place to stay temporarily. She didn't give details, but Ethan saw the fear behind her polite smile. She wasn't running from danger, she was running from a life that suffocated her. After hours of thinking, he offered her the spare room he rarely entered. It was small, dusty, and nothing compared to her luxurious world. But she accepted with a kind of relief that made Ethan's heart ache. For days, their little apartment felt different, warmer, brighter. Alina learned how to make simple dinners, burned toast twice, and laughed harder than she had in years. Lily adored her. Ethan found himself staring at her when she wasn't looking, wondering how someone born in gold could fit so naturally in his humble life, but calm never lasts forever. 3 weeks later, on a quiet Sunday morning, everything shattered. Alina's family found her location. They stormed into the restaurant where she, Ethan, and Lily were having breakfast. Her father's security men surrounded the table, and Christopher Hart himself walked in with fury burning in his eyes, shouting that she had disgraced their name, that she had been manipulated, that she belonged nowhere near a man beneath her world. Ethan stood instinctively shielded Lily behind him. The entire restaurant froze. People whispered. Cameras flashed. Christopher demanded she leave with him immediately. Alina trembled, her voice barely a whisper as she tried to defend Ethan, saying he had protected her when no one else did, that she felt safe with him, that he was nothing like the people her world forced her to trust, but her father didn't listen. He accused Ethan of using her, trapping her, deceiving her for money. He insulted him in front of everyone, ripping open every wound Ethan had spent years trying to heal. Something inside Ethan steadied. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He simply stepped closer to Alina, just enough to show the truth without speaking a word. When he finally spoke, his voice didn't shake. "She's with me." The words carried a strength that silenced even the guards. For the first time, Christopher paused. Because the sincerity in Ethan's voice wasn't something money could fabricate. It wasn't entitlement, pride, or desperation. It was pure, protective, human truth, the kind very few people in his world ever spoke with. Alina's eyes filled with tears she didn't hide. She wasn't choosing rebellion. She was choosing peace. The confrontation turned into a long, heavy silence. Eventually, Christopher ordered his men to stand down and demanded to speak with Alina alone. She refused. Ethan gently placed a hand on her shoulder, not to claim her, but to remind her she wasn't alone anymore. After a tense hour, Christopher left without her. The media later twisted the story, painting Ethan as everything he wasn't. But people who saw the truth knew better. The world expected Ethan to break under pressure. Instead, he rose. He worked harder, protected his daughter, and quietly supported Alina as she faced the world she'd been born into. And as weeks turned into months, Alina built her own path, standing stronger beside Ethan and Lily. She found purpose. She found family. She found a life she chose, not one she inherited. Near the end of their journey, on a quiet evening as they walked home under streetlights, Alina whispered that she had never felt more free. Ethan didn't answer. He only looked at her with the kind of admiration that said everything without needing words. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps more people find these emotional stories. Before the ending, kindly comment what part of this story moved you the most. Ethan didn't know what the future held. Maybe it would be difficult. Maybe their worlds would clash again. But as he held Lily's hand and watched Alina smiling softly beside him, he realized something powerful. Sometimes the family you build is stronger than the one you're born into. Sometimes love arrives quietly, in the middle of your hardest days, and sometimes, the bravest thing a person can say, is simply, "She's with me."